Will come back and say, well, you're not pregnant anymore. You're not pregnant, sorry, it's... And the woman will say, what do you mean I'm not pregnant? I was pregnant just a short time ago. And they say, well, you must have had a miscarriage. And the woman says, I think I would have noticed that. There's cramping, there's expulsion of matter, blood, there might even be hemorrhaging. And the doctor says, well, maybe it happened on the toilet. And this does happen on the toilet. This is not out of the question. This must have happened on the toilet. And the woman says, I think I would have noticed that too, because the odd thing is that every time before I flush that toilet, I just glance down there to make sure everything's okay. And I think I would have noticed it. There would have been hemorrhaging, there would have been cramping and blood in the water. And it just goes unexplained. It's just unexplained. But what happens is that approximately 10 weeks, 11 weeks around that time, these beings come and they remove the fetus before she begins to show. That's the critical event. Because most women simply don't even know they're pregnant. Even though they might have missed a period or two, they still think, well, I can't be pregnant because I have not had intercourse. Therefore, even though I've missed 2 periods now, something else might be happening, but I'm not. Maybe it's a lot of stress I've been going through, but I am not pregnant. But if she begins to show, then they know something is wrong. So they remove it then. It's all for protection of the fetus. The fetus is then placed in a gestation tank, which is filled with nutrients. And then the fetus gestates until, we're not exactly sure how many weeks, but eventually they're removed. Now, so what we have here is fetal implantation, or should I say, zygote implantation and fetal extraction. And this happens to I'm going to go out on the limb here and say virtually all women. I'm still saying virtually, but virtually all women this happens to. Even this happens oftentimes to women who've already had hysterectomies. They'll have fetal implantations, not in their uterus, but in another part of their pelvic area. And doctors now here, physician scientists have found that even men can gestate babies there, and therefore women can gestate babies outside of the uterus. And that's what, in fact, we've seen in women as well who've had hysterectomies. It's all about reproduction. This phenomenon is all about reproduction to a large extent.
It's incredible, absolutely incredible, the whole thing.
I wish I didn't have to say these things. I wish that everybody didn't say these things. They wish that they didn't have to say these things. And once again, I cannot emphasize enough, abductees don't want to be abductees. They don't want to have to say these things. They understand how crazy it is. They understand that these things are happening to them, and they don't want them to happen to them. What they want for me to do, they hope, is to try to get the phenomenon to stop, and of course, we can't do that. I tell them we can work for emotional and intellectual control over what's going on, but physical control I cannot give to them. I can't stop it from happening, unfortunately.
Well, I've got a couple of questions that friends have asked me to ask you. In your experience, Dr. Jacobs, are the abductees' experiences of malevolent nature with aliens, and if so, how and why do you believe that?
It depends on what you mean by malevolence. Are they here to stomp on Tokyo and destroy London and and kill, harm, and maim? I don't think so. Are they doing this for the benefit of humankind because they love us and adore us? There's no evidence for that whatsoever. I wish that were true, but people do not say that. They don't describe that. Are they here for their own agenda because they want to be and they get something from it? The answer is yes. This is their phenomenon. This is their decision to do this, and they gain something from it. I don't think malevolence is in their makeup necessarily. I don't think that we have to worry about mass killings or anything like that to take malevolence at its extreme. Is this good for humanity? No. And now, even to say the word humanity and talk in these grandiose terms, I understand how crazy that is. Is it?
Right.
They shouldn't be. There's well, it is shocking. Although I've been on the internet a lot, I know that, and my colleague Bud Hopkins did a lot of work also that way. But there's very few abduction researchers in the world. There are some, but there are very few. I don't understand why not, other than it destroys people's careers. I don't fully understand why there shouldn't be more interest in it. And I'll explain in a minute why I can't understand it. But that's all I was like. Go ahead and ask some other questions. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Question 2. Would you consider the possibility of aliens being fallen angels with a sinister agenda against mankind?
The fallen angel theory has been bandied about for years and years and years and years. I find no evidence for that whatsoever. The evidence leads to this is an extraterrestrial being. These are extraterrestrial beings who are here for their own purposes. They know nothing about religion. They know nothing about angels or devils. They know nothing about any of the religions. I have worked with people who are Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, and they all say the same thing. It doesn't matter. Many religions will have something that will account for something like this if you stretch it a little bit. I guess I don't know that much about religion, I must say, but I haven't found any evidence for that's the case at all.
Okay, great. Why do you believe the aliens are trying to keep their hybridization program secret? In other words, the act of mixing different species or varieties of animals or people with them.
Right. The question is then why do they keep it secret? Why is there secrecy? Well, first of all, if there weren't secrecy, there would be no abduction phenomenon. We would find a way to stop it. If we knew who abductees were, if there wasn't a secret, and we knew when people are abducted, and we would follow them around, we'd find a way of stopping this phenomenon because we would understand that this is a global threat. This would be something that every nation in the world would be concerned with. Now, when I say it's global, I cannot say that it's every country in the world. I don't know that. For example, I don't have any reports on my website from English-speaking people who found my website in Burma, Myanmar. So I can't absolutely tell you that people are being abducted in Burma or whatever, or in Tibet. But I do know that I've had people from Africa and Asia and Latin America, North America, obviously, and the UK certainly, and throughout Europe, writing to me about their abduction experiences. So we know it's global. It follows the UFO phenomenon. The ultimate question is, why aren't UFOs completely secret? why do we see the answer? The question that we've been asking since the 1940s is, what did people see? What do they look like? What do UFOs look like? To me, that's no longer the question. The question is, if this is a secret phenomenon, why do they see UFOs at all? Because I equate UFOs with the abduction phenomenon. That may be a wrong equation. But the fact is that we don't see UFOs as often as we should see them. In other words, in order to be secret, you have to keep the phenomenon. You have to keep abductees from knowing that they are abductees, and that's neurological manipulation, and in fact, it is exceptionally successful. I would say maybe only one portion of 1% of abductees actually know that they're abductees. In the United States, about 1 million people will say that they're abductees through polls that have been, if you ask that question. Whether they are abductees or not, we don't know. It has to be investigated. Each case has to be investigated. Or at least they have to fill out questionnaires. I can tell immediately when they answer questions on a question on our website, or whether they're abductee or not. Although I can't tell that to people when I answer if I talk about it. But we know that there's about 30 to 50 million abductees in the United States. And we know that from a Roper poll conducted, I'm sorry, there's not 30 to 50. We know that there's about 3 to 5 million people who are abductees in the United States, if not more. Wait a minute. Yeah, we know that there's like 30 to 50 million people who are abducted. Let me start that again. A poll conducted in 1991 showed that about from 2 to 5% of the population of the United States have had abduction-like experiences. I think it's closer to 5 to 7%. And that means that 5% of 300 million, 330 million is 15 million people. Most of those 15 million people do not know that they're abductees. Because even though it's happened to them since they were children and continues with great frequency throughout their lives, all they know is that they've led strange lives. They've had missing time experiences, they've seen religious figures that they've interpreted as religious figures, they've seen dead people that they've interpreted as dead relatives who come back to say goodbye to them. They've had all these oddities happen to them. They have strange fears, scared to death of their backyard. Don't go into their garden in the back. They're scared to death. They don't know why. It's an odd fear to have, to say the least. Not for abductees. I hear that and I know, oh yeah, okay, that person has probably had abduction-like experiences. People aren't normally afraid of their garden and won't go out. It's not like that. The front yard, they'll go out. Okay, that's fine. It's such an oddity, but it's not an oddity necessarily with abductees. It's all part, and they can't relate it to anything because they can't remember what happened to them. It's extremely successful that way.